as there is new violence on the ground in Baltimore right now. Mike Tobin is live for us. He's on the phone. What has happened, Mike?
Well, about 2:45, we saw a guy running from the cops here, right at the intersection of North and Pennsylvania, where which has been the epicenter of the unrest here. And as he was running away, that officer drew his weapon and fired and struck the individual who was running away. He was a young black male, and what we saw on the sidewalk as the crime scene unfolded there was a revolver laying on the ground. It looked like a six-shooter revolver with a long barrel. The individual who was shot, again, a young black male, he was alive. They just took him off in the ambulance, but he did not look to be in good shape at all. I can't really give you an accurate diagnosis, and I could not get a look at his wound, but he looked to be in bad shape. Now you have crowds responding here.
Mike, I just want to interrupt. Mike, I just want to interrupt because we're looking at tape right now of, assumingly, yes, this is the victim right here that you have just been talking about on the stretcher going into the ambulance. The young African-American man that you're talking about who was shot. Here's more tape now coming into Fox of what has happened now just moments ago, about 8 to 10 minutes ago in Baltimore. As Mike was describing, apparently this young man, we don't know what happened before, but he was running away and an officer shot him, and now he is going into the ambulance. So, Mike, let me bring you back in here for a minute.
Yeah.
What were you saying about the revolver?
Well, what I said, clearly saw a revolver on the sidewalk, and there was an officer standing over the revolver to prevent the crime scene from getting contaminated, if you will. It's a common speak to prevent anybody from messing with it. That revolver was lying on the ground. He sort of stood guard over it as more officers arrived here on the scene. And now we see a big presence of police that is arriving here. And if you can hear in the background, you've got someone now shouting at the police officers, and you've got a lot of the emotion pouring right back into the intersection of North and Pennsylvania.
Okay, so Mike, you just happened to be in this area because this is the area in which a lot of the drama played out last week as well?
Correct. And I was getting ready to do live shots for my shift, which was coming up later on in the evening. And he ran, I give it about 40 feet away from our vehicle while I was sitting in the car scribbling out my notes for the next live shot. And he ran right in front of us. I never saw the individual turn and do anything I would consider an aggressive act. But we did see the officer draw his weapon, and I counted one gunshot.
And do you have any idea where that victim or perpetrator, because we don't know which one, but where he was shot?
No, I was trying to get a look. There was a big crowd that formed around the victim and the one police officer out there on the street, and you couldn't really get in to get a good look at his wound. The individual who ran, the suspect and or victim, call him what you will.
So after this happened, Mike, you actually witnessed this happening. How long was he on the ground after this happened before medical personnel arrived?
Well, he's gone now. The medical personnel got there pretty quickly. The cop who, I assume it was the cop who fired the weapon, he looked like he administered first aid to the extent that he could. By and large, it looked like he was just propping his shoulders up and trying to keep the crowd off that individual. But you had a very angry crowd that formed around the guy who was laying on the sidewalk. And it looked like that officer was trying to defend himself. And then pretty quickly, more police arrived on the scene. And about the same time, there were a few ambulances that arrived on the scene. And I think within 10 minutes, they had the guy loaded up in the stretcher and off to some hospital right now. I haven't been able to check.
Okay, so once again, we're listening to Mike Tobin, who is live on the scene for us in Baltimore. This happening just about 11 minutes ago now. You can see on your screen, this is videotape of a young African-American man who was fleeing police. We don't know why. We don't know the circumstances. We don't know if he was armed, although we're hearing from Mike Tobin that there was a revolver found at the scene, and he was shot by who we believe to be a police officer. And now he has been taken off in this video, you can see, injured on a stretcher and going into an ambulance and going to a local hospital. So, Mike, let me bring it back to you. What is the scene there now?
Well, now we have another police line that has formed up. It's a little more ad hoc, a little less planned. I see about half of the police officers have their shields.